Hello again. I was thinking recently about the fact that while Jews and people of Indian heritage seem generally to do pretty well, other minorities, those of African and Caribbean origin, for instance, don't seem to thrive that well. Why is this? Why should it be that black people are typically less well off than Chinese or white people in Britain and the United States? Why is their health not as good? While those from the Indian subcontinent as well always manage to do well enough. The explanation often advanced that racism is to blame is not convincing. After all, if the disadvantages of black people are caused by white racists, why should these bigots not be racially prejudiced also against Indians, Jews and Chinese people? They must be very odd and selective white supremacists who are causing all this if they're pleased to see Indians get on in life and yet set their faces like flint against Afro-Caribbeans doing well. I think there must be another explanation. Apropos of this subject, I was mulling over my own life and thinking of the way that the circumstances of my present life have been produced by the sum of my choices over the years. For instance, my wife and I home educated our daughter, which meant that we both worked part-time, and the family was therefore pretty hard up on occasion. We couldn't afford holidays abroad or nice cars, that sort of thing. That was a choice that we made that made us poorer than many of the people we know. On the other hand, although we actually wanted another baby together, we decided it would be better focusing on one and not becoming even more poor than we already were. Some of our friends had 3 or 4 children and struggled to manage as a result. This was another choice we made, which also affected how our lives are now. We all have the same thing, choices we have made to work hard or to be idle, to smoke cigarettes or not, to eat fattening food or to refrain, to have 1 child or 4, to live in one place or another. Those choices generally contribute to our standard of living, our happiness, and the way our children grow up. One of the things which makes it likely that children will grow up being happy, stable and useful citizens is having 2 parents who are married to each other and remain together. This is a choice which people make as well. Only 5.7% of households of people of South Asian origin in Britain are single-parent families. For black people, 18.9% of households consist of single parents with dependent children. In other words, 3 times as many black parents choose to raise children as single parents compared to those from India and Pakistan. Does this choice affect how their children will grow up? Does it affect how well off those households are? Does racism of any kind at all have the slightest influence here? What about choosing to take A-levels on the types of A-levels that you take? Does that affect life outcomes of young people? Are those who take A-levels in things like mathematics more likely to end up earning more as adults? 86% of Chinese students doing A-levels choose to take mathematics or sciences, as opposed to only 42% of Caribbeans. Do these choices affect the life chances and future opportunities of black and Chinese adults? Does racism prevent Caribbean teenagers studying A-level mathematics, or is it their own choice? I make no comment on whether any of these decisions are a consequence of culture, genetics or anything else, but the fact remains that they are choices. To suggest that racism is to blame for poor choices is absurd. Of course, sometimes misfortune strikes people through no fault of their own, and they become bankrupt or homeless. Tragedies do happen randomly sometimes, in the same way that good fortune can strike at random when somebody wins the lottery, say. By and large, though, we are the product of all our choices, and are wholly responsible for the lives which we live. To tell a large group of people that they are not responsible for their lives and that every evil which befalls them is caused by the malevolent actions of others is to encourage irresponsibility. If you persuade people that they are helpless pawns of an uncaring society, then they will not bother to try and improve their lot by study or hard work. What's the point? Left-wing white liberals are causing a terrible situation by constantly pretending that racism is at the root of every black person's problem, rather than poor life choices. They are cultivating a sense of helplessness and victimisation, which leads to all kinds of other difficulties, both for individuals who feel that way and the society in which they live.